June 7, 2008 was historical for the Catholic Diocese of Lexington, Kentucky, as Bishop Gaynor conferred the sacrament of holy orders to 23 men from all over the diocese. 22 of these men were ordained to the Permanent Diaconate, and one, Danny Pfister, to the Transitional Diaconate. That is, with and through God's grace, Danny will be ordained a priest next May. 2 men from our parish, James and Skip, were ordained to the Permanent Diaconate. They spent 5 years in discernment, study, and scrutiny before they were deemed worthy to receive the sacrament. The sacrament Skip and James received is a sacrament of service. It is not a paid position and not a glamorous position. It has nothing to do with James's job as parish life director or Skip's role as a musician. Neither needs to be a deacon in order to continue their roles. Most of the men ordained hold full-time jobs, and the ministry that they have embarked on is over and above those jobs. You have seen some changes in the liturgy as they have assumed their roles and taken their rightful place on the altar. The deacon leads the penitential rite and the prayer of the faithful, or petitions, since he is from the people and at the same time from the hierarchy of the church. James and Skip once a month proclaim the gospel and preach the homily. The role of teaching and preaching is one of the primary duties of the deacons, and as such, they all sign 2 solemn oaths: fidelity to the church and obedience to the bishop. That is, they will remain true to all the teachings of the church and will not deviate from the teaching and preaching with personal opinions that are not in agreement with the church, and they will do as the bishop asks of them. The Permanent Diaconate is new, yet very old. The diaconate had its origins in the apostolic times and flourished in the first 4 centuries of our church's history. From the beginning, the role of the deacon was associated with service to members of the church. The deacon performed duties in collaboration with the bishop and priest. More specifically, the deacon in the early church was concerned with 3 tasks. He assisted in celebrating the liturgy, he gave instructions in the faith, and directed charitable work. Even as the diaconate flourished, the causes of its eventual decline and disappearance began to appear. This happened as early as the 3rd century. But the process itself was a complex one which extended over many centuries. No single reason suffices to explain what happened, except perhaps it appears that both priests and deacons experienced a kind of identity crisis. Revived interest in the Permanent Diaconate dates back to at least the time of World War II. Priests imprisoned in Nazi concentration camps, reflecting on the difficult situation of the church, speculated that permanent deacons, married or single men, with a formal, stable commitment to the work of the church, could accomplish much good. Interest in the idea continued after the war, when it was taken up by theologians and scholars, especially in Europe, and discussed in a number of articles and books. In 1957, Pope Pius XII spoke favorably of a restored permanent diaconate, although concluding that the time is not yet ripe. The idea was very much in the air by the time of the Vatican Council, too. Among the reasons for restoring the diaconate advanced during the council was that this step would help alleviate the shortage of priests in various parts of the world. Deacons, it was reasoned, would be able to perform many of the functions of priests and would help create and sustain a sense of Christian community among people who rarely saw a priest. This consideration is still valid and even compelling in particular situations, but it is not a satisfactory rationale if it is taken to imply that the diaconate is merely an expedient, temporary solution to a problem for which there will be no particular need or reason if there were enough priests to go around. On the contrary, the central fact about the diaconate is that it is an integral part of a threefold hierarchy of orders, with its own intrinsic reason and right to exist, quite apart from the circumstances of a particular era and place, which may give it special timelessness. In the next few weeks, I will try to give you a better understanding of not only the history and role of the permanent deacon, but also the Sacrament of Holy Orders, and some few other interesting tidbits I learned in my research.